If you've been following this channel, my blog, for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of the Lotus franchise. The novels, the anime, the manga, you name it. So when I started doing my shift to having a dedicated Let's Play channel, which link has been in the doobly-doo for a while, um, one of the games I wanted to play on there early on was the Record of Lotus War Metroidvania, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. I've beaten that game on that channel, and I'll also have a link in the doobly-doo for the full playlist for that Let's Play. And in the conclusion of that, as I do with all of my Let's Plays, I gave my thoughts on the game itself as the credits rolled. However, for those who don't want to watch a full Let's Play, I figured I should give my thoughts here. And though there will be spoilers, so heads up on that. Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth draws heavily from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. How heavily? Well, Deedlit has Alucard's backdash. Her sword attacks work a lot like Alucard's attacks. Like with some of the portable Castlevania games, Deedlit has various magical spirits which she can call upon for special abilities and for traversal throughout the game. In fact, some of these abilities are the things that will then provide new movement verbs for getting through certain barriers or for providing double jumps or that sort of thing over the course of the game. And she can switch between which one is active, with their abilities impacting both combat and traversal, along with also dealing damage with different ways against certain monsters, with some spirits being more effective than others, depending on what monster you're up against. The animations aren't one for one. There's a familiarity in how those animations work that certainly make the game easier to pick up and play if you've played Symphony of the Night before, while having traits that distinguish Deedlit from Alucard. For example, in Symphony of the Night, Alucard has some very large weapons that he can wield, and while the animations are deliberate and somewhat slow, the deliberateness is just with the giving a sense of weight, but not giving a sense of effort. Deedlit, on the other hand, when she uses large weapons, her animations feels this small, subtle sense of strain to the act of swinging this over large sword or that sort of thing with it. The narrative of the game is very strong as well, and not something I'd seen much in the context of this kind of Metroidvania title, because this is a game, to get the spoilers, about grief. Deedlit, as has come up for multiple occasions in the course of the Lotus franchise, is not just an elf, but an immortal high elf. Like Arwen, she will not grow old and die, while though mortals around her do. However, her love, Parn, is a human, and an ordinary human at that, not one who's part of the long-lived lineage of Numenor, like Aragorn. And of her fellow heroes of Lotos, the one who would have a long life the most, not as long as hers, obviously, but comparable, Gim, was the first of their number to die in the fight against Carla. So there's this growing sense of the course of the game where you're encountering some of Deedlit's past companions and friends, all of whom is strongly implied, and in some cases clearly stated, are dead and gone at this point. And then when you run into Deedlit's counterpart, Purotess is grappling with her own grief over the presumed death of Asheram and wanting him back. This all plays into the big twist of the game, that this is all an illusion created by a spirit of grief and loneliness, and that group with Purotess is a degree of projection. Purotess isn't there, and also if you know the timeline, she and Asheram are off somewhere else, and Asheram's currently stuck in a statue. It's a whole thing. Even the repeated appearance of Carla, the most high-profile recurring antagonist of Deedlit's adventures with the Heroes of Lotos, is an illusion, with Deedlit recognizing something is up, and because she views Carla as her greatest foe, she projects Carla into this narrative of this Wonder Labyrinth as a representation of her own denial. Not denial of the death of her friends, but also denial of her own grief. All of this, the well-written story, which provides fan service in some of the best possible ways, the ways which kind of give shout-outs to people who've been fans for a long time and are familiar with the franchise and looking for little Easter eggs and that sort of thing. Or, for that matter, tells a story which plays off of their knowledge, combined with a engaging environment with well-done sprite work, really well-done sprite work, animations, all makes for a game that, while I wouldn't call it necessarily hard, I would call engaging. And definitely worth picking up, especially again if you're a fan of Lodos. If you're new to the franchise, you'll still have a good experience with the gameplay of it, but I think the story misses impact if you're coming to this fresh. If you're coming to this as someone who has not watched any of the anime before, hasn't read the manga, hasn't read the novels, anything like that. And I think that is a bit of a bummer in that regard. I can understand why, and certainly if they did too much to recap the events of, say, the Grey Witch novel, which is the part which probably plays the most impact on the story, I think that it would cause it to drag some if you stop and provide that information, particularly if it's information that all the characters involved generally already knows. And honestly, I think also would give away a bit too much if they spelled out outright, Woodchuck, what are you doing here? Or Gim, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead. That sort of thing. I think it does a decent enough job as it is implying that these people, that when Deedlit is reacting to these characters, that she is aware that they are not supposed, that they're not supposed to be there, and conveys that in the dialogue in probably the best way possible without hammering the viewer over the head with it. But in all, again, I do strongly recommend it. Deedlit Wonder Labyrinth is available on PC and on consoles, and links to where you can get it will be in the show notes. Affiliate links where available.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Tossing me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.